This is News 25 with Deanna O'Donnell and Missy Kohler. News 25, local news you can count on. News is brought to you by J.K. Nelson Law. Call 727-9900 today for your free consultation. If you need a lawyer, you need Nelson. This segment of the news is brought to you by Silver State Health, bringing quality medical and psychiatric care to Pahrump. Call 775-505-1214 for an appointment.
Welcome to News 25. I'm Deanna O'Donnell.
I'm Missy Kohler, and today is January 20th.
Well, Joe Biden is now the 46th president of the United States. He and Vice President Kamala Harris were sworn in during today's 59th inaugural ceremonies at the U.S. Capitol.
That I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States.
Office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
That I will well and faithfully discharge.
That I will well and faithfully discharge.
The duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
The duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right.
Today's inauguration event featured Lady Gaga singing the national anthem, Jennifer Lopez performing This Land Is Your Land, Garth Brooks singing Amazing Grace, and poet Amanda Gorman. After the swearing in, President Biden and Vice President Harris participated in the Pass in Review, a long-standing military tradition. Biden and Harris also joined former Presidents Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush for a wreath-laying ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery. And during his first speech as president, Mr. Biden spoke to all Americans.
This is America's day. This is democracy's day. A day of history and hope, of renewal and resolve. Through a crucible for the ages, America has been tested anew, and America has risen to the challenge. Today, we celebrate the triumph not of a candidate, but of a cause, the cause of democracy. The people, the will of the people has been heard, and the will of the people has been heeded. We've learned again that democracy is precious, democracy is fragile, and at this hour, my friends, democracy has prevailed.
While it's tradition for the outgoing president to take part in the inauguration ceremonies, Donald Trump did not. Instead, he left Washington early Wednesday morning, flying aboard Air Force One for the final time on his way to his home in Florida. In his final hours, Mr. Trump granted pardons to 73 people, including his former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon, and he commuted the sentences for 70 others. Outgoing VP Mike Pence did participate in today's inauguration ceremonies.
President Joe Biden finalized 17 executive moves just hours after his inauguration today. The president signed several executive orders reversing several of Trump's policies, including our intention to enter back into the Paris Climate Agreement, stopping the emergency funding spent on building a border wall. Biden also made it mandatory to wear masks on federal property and reversed the travel ban aimed at mostly Muslim countries. He also halted the United States' departure from the World Health Organization, where Dr. Anthony Fauci, the government's top infectious disease expert, will lead the U.S. delegation. Biden also installed a coronavirus response coordinator to oversee the White House's efforts to distribute vaccines and medical supplies and halted the construction of the Keystone Pipeline.
And COVID-19 has had a significant economic impact here on the state of Nevada. Governor Steve Sisolak says he has a plan to get the state back on track. But during his State of the State address, he said it won't come without challenges.
Throughout this crisis, we have worked hard to balance protecting the public health while doing everything we can to keep the economy afloat and our businesses open. But the fact remains that our state and our people have suffered in ways none of us could have imagined a year ago. And let me tell you, not a day goes by that I don't think about the many sacrifices so many of you are making. The challenges are unprecedented. We have so much to fix, but we are forging a new path forward. In our first months of the pandemic, more than 250,000 Nevadans were laid off. It was devastating. You know the truth. We're dependent on hospitality for a big part of our economy. And when travel stops, hotel rooms go empty, when showrooms close, and our convention business and tourism shuts down, it hits our state harder than any state in the nation. That makes me more determined than ever to get our world-leading hospitality industry open and our workers back on the job. But that's not enough. We need to expand our economy to other world-leading industries that could create new jobs and new opportunities for our people. And everyone needs to remember, it's not just big business that have been hit hard. Our small businesses have suffered, and they account for almost half of all the jobs in our state. Better systems, modernization, private sector help, more federal dollars, that's a big part of the path forward. I believe in this state and in our future. We will support our current industries like tourism while developing new industries, embracing innovation, workforce training, and investing in infrastructure to create a more robust and sustainable economy. And we will emerge stronger from this pandemic and lead the nation in jobs and opportunity. The improvements in our fiscal situation are the result of decisions we've made over the last 10 months, where we worked hard to strike a balance between protecting public health and also protecting our fragile economy. Nevada, we can do this. We are determined, we are resilient, and we are strong. Thank you all. God bless you. And let's get back to work.
When we come back, we'll have all the latest news from the business world, so stick around.
You're watching News 25, the most recognized and farthest-reaching local news in Nye County. News 25, local news you can count on.
Welcome back. We're happy to have you with us tonight. Janet Yellen says the U.S. can afford a higher corporate tax. MyPillow is losing customers due to ties to Donald Trump, and Office Depot is rejecting a takeover attempt. Angela Miles reports.
Making business news headlines in her confirmation hearing to become the next Treasury Secretary, former Fed Chair Janet Yellen tells lawmakers the U.S. can afford to nudge up the corporate tax rate, but only if it's coordinated with other economies around the globe and when the coronavirus pandemic is under control. Right now, corporate America pays about 21% of its profits in taxes. President Trump cut that down from 35% as President Joe Biden proposes raising the corporate rate to 28%. The CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell, who has snuggled his way to the White House, is losing major customers over false claims that President Trump did not lose the election. According to reports, Bed Bath & Beyond and Kohl's are cutting ties with MyPillow by removing products from stores. Lindell calls them good partners and to come back anytime. Office Depot is rejecting the takeover attempt by Staples.
Thanks, Angela. Well, a burglary investigation that began in 2020 ends with an arrest in 2021.
On November 22, 2020, Nye County Sheriff's deputies began an investigation into stolen property. The reporting person said he had been out of town for a month. Deputies said they had located 2 storage totes that had items inside that identified the victim. The victim stated that he stored those items in a trailer that he kept at another residence. When deputies and the victim arrived where the trailer was stored, they discovered it had been stolen. Some of the other items that were stored in the trailer were tools valued at about $4,000. During the course of the investigation, deputies located 2 items that were allegedly pawned by Michael Wallace at the Cash America Superstore on South Highway 160. The items pawned were the tools that the victim had stored in the trailer. On January 7th, deputies began speaking with Wallace. When he was asked about the trailer, Wallace allegedly admitted that he did steal the trailer and told officers where he parked it. He admitted to going inside the trailer and taking the tools and then pawning them. Due to the total circumstances and Wallace's admissions, he was arrested for residential burglary and transported to Nye County Detention Center.
Mason Lytle appeared in court for sentencing last week for his role in a 2018 drive-by shooting.
On February 28, 2018, Nye County Sheriff's Office conducted a raid at 2891 Peggy Avenue. The raid was a result of an investigation into a drive-by shooting that occurred on February 14, 2018 on Sagebrush Avenue. Arrested at the house was Martin Lytle and Stephanie Kearns. Methamphetamine was found in the home, and Martin Lytle admitted to using the drug earlier in the day. Kearns had been released earlier that week from the detention center and denied using the drug. The main suspect of the drive-by shooting was then 19-year-old Mason Lytle, and he was not at home at the time of the search. Mason Lytle appeared in Judge Lane's courtroom last week for his sentencing hearing on 2 charges: discharging a firearm Category D and discharging a firearm Category B. Lytle's attorney, Daniel Martinez, stated that part of the plea agreement included Lytle going to boot camp, and upon successful completion, the state would not oppose probation. Due to the pandemic, boot camp is not operating. The state and the defense came to an agreement of substitution that Lytle would pay $5,000 fine and complete 1,000 hours of community service. The defense went on to say that much has changed for Lytle as he has a child, has gotten engaged, and is working a full-time job. Martinez said that Lytle has turned his life around and is a productive member of society. If Lytle does not comply with the terms of the agreement, he faces jail time. The state reiterated the severity of the crime that had occurred. State Attorney Vito asked that the court sentence Lytle to the maximum sentence he could receive and suspend it so that if he does not comply with the terms of the agreement, he will face severe consequences. Judge Lane went along with the agreement and sentenced Lytle to 1 year on each count suspended, the maximum probation, $2,000 restitution, $5,000 fine, and 1,000 hours of community service.
We'll be right back with more News 25.
You're watching News 25, brought to you by Mountain West Lawyer, Injury Attorneys, 727-9500. News 25, local news you can count on. News is brought to you by Canyon Ridge Periodontics. Give them a call at 702-966-0302.
Welcome back to News 25. Well, it's been a roller coaster of a year for students. Many kids have spent months learning from home due to COVID-19, and some of them may be returning back to class in the weeks ahead, which is sure to cause some anxiety.
Let them know what it's going to look like. What are the changes going to be? Not in a scary way, but in a matter-of-fact way. They're going to be doing temperature checks. People are going to be wearing masks. You may have some scheduled seating. Things are going to look a little bit different.
Dr. Ethan Benor is a pediatric psychologist at Cleveland Clinic Children's. He says you'll want to let children know they're safe and that the school is making these changes to help prevent the spread of coronavirus. For example, you can explain that wearing a mask is a lot like having to wash your hands or looking both ways before crossing the street. He says it's also important to check in on a child's mental health during this time.
If you're having these conversations regularly, it doesn't feel so weird when there is a problem. And so if you have a thought or a concern, ask, bring it up. If it's nothing, that's okay. But your child might feel even more comfortable if they come back to you 2 weeks later and there is something there.
He says a lot of people are struggling right now, so be sure to show compassion, not only with your own kids, but with their teachers too. They're dealing with the same kinds of challenges.
He's a veteran and a rocker, and a veteran rocker. He's William Billy Stokes, and he was in front for the Producer's Choice Awards in December. After picking up his award, Billy stopped on the red carpet to talk with News 25 about his album.
My award for his Best Rock Album, and I think the real story here is it's a Wounded Warrior linked project because I'm a Wounded Warrior myself. I'm an Army veteran, but really I think that the album got the critical acclaim it did because of the work, because of the music, and not just any military connection per se, but also there's a bunch of iconic musicians on this album. There's Pat Travers, who's a rock and roll icon. Les Dudek, if you've heard Ramblin' Man, which I know you have, you're listening to Les. Frank Marino from Mahogany Rush. Mark Strachey, the singer from Crocus, sang the album. So it's a big, weighty album full of icons.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
wrote the songs, I wrote the lyrics, and kind of pulled in these talents. It's amazing because if you do have a good song to start with, if the inception is strong, if it was kind of God-given, it's there, and you bring in these types of players. Barry Sparks is the one guy, he's a bassist, he's been with Whitesnake, and Ted Nugent, you know, he's a very professional bassist, but his presence in the project seemed to really, when the songs were being recorded, he was very quick to help with the rhythmic happenstance, and that the album really solidified very quickly. And then we tracked in the other, you know, modes, the singing, the guitar, etc. BillyStokes.com, it's streaming everywhere, YouTube, Amazon. The name of the album is Muscle and Blood. So if you type in Billy Stokes Muscle and Blood, you're gonna find the album. And I'd like to shout out to Jim Pavette, Tucson, Arizona. He's the drummer. So I hope you could listen to it. It's right here. Look at that. There's a image of it, and everybody take the time to consider new artwork and new music, and try to get away from the streaming stuff where people just listen to half a song and they don't have time. You know. Thank you very, very much, and thank all the veterans as well. Thank you, everyone.
News 25 WeatherCam is brought to you by Lerner and Rowe Injury Attorney's Office in Pahrump. In a wreck, need a check? Call 702-877-1500.
Hi, good evening, Nevada. It's John Kohler from KPVM Channel 25. Shh, it's raining in Pahrump. It's raining kittens. Yeah. Never Forgotten Animal Society, they've got quite an event coming up, an adoption event. It's also a garage sale and an auction. It's this weekend, Friday and Saturday. They go from 8 to 3. It's at 520 Southeast Street. And come on out if you're looking for a new little kitty, a new little adoption friend. It's raining kittens, and it's actually got some actual rain coming up. We'll tell you all about it in the weather expect this week when we return.
News 25 weather is brought to you by Dairy Council of Nevada. The splash of cream in your coffee, the dollop of sour cream on your burrito, the melted toasty cheese on your pizza. Undeniably delicious, undeniably dairy. Enjoy what's real.
Hi, good evening, Nevada. It's John Kohler from KPVM Channel 25 Weather Studios. How are you today? You know, today in history, it's Buzz Aldrin's birthday, an actual spaceman. Also, DeForest Kelley, a fake spaceman. He played the part of McCoy on Star Trek. So there you go. Happy birthday to you folks, and everybody that's celebrating up in Fernley. Well, you're celebrating at 48 degrees temperature for a high today, 21 for a low. Out in Fallon, you're up to 50 degrees for a high, 16 as a low. Carson City, 51 and 23 for a low. Out in Tonopah, you win the Cold Weather Award. Ding, ding, ding. Once again, 46 degrees for a high today, 18 for a low. Burr, put on a sweater out in Tonopah. In Goldfield, you're looking at 49 degrees for a high today, 20 for a low. Out in Beatty, it's 60 degrees and 32 for a low. And in Amargosa, a little bit more pleasant. I like the weather in Amargosa. 63 degrees today, very nice. 36 for a low tonight, nothing's freezing. Good deal. Out in Las Vegas, 62 degrees for a high today and 45 for your low tonight. And in Death Valley, warm as always, but pleasantly warm. 71 degrees for a high today, 47 for a low. And here in the paradise of Pahrump, well, let's look at it. 55 degrees is our current temperature. 60 was our high today. Felt nice. The winds finally calmed down after the buffeting we got yesterday. Humidity rose 32% in the morning, 6:52 a.m. The sun rose gloriously above our skies, and here in Pahrump currently it's 55 degrees. Low tonight of 40 is what we shall expect. And that humidity increasing 52%. We might see some rain here and there, a little scattered rain here and there. Nothing to brag about, but, you know, keeps the dust down. That's good. Sunset this evening at 4:58 p.m. And here for the rest of the week, what are we looking at? Well, we got clear skies tomorrow. Friday, clouds returning, and look at that wind. 22 miles per hour is the average wind speed. We'll be looking big gusts here and there, so watch out for that. Secure stuff in your yard if it isn't tied down already. Saturday winds will calm down just a little bit, but look at the temperatures dropping from 64 degrees is the high today, down, 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 all the way to like 42 on Tuesday before they start recovering. So we're going to drop about 20 degrees on our highs and about 10, 15 degrees on our lows, all the way down to freezing temperatures once again by Tuesday. And hopefully we'll get some nice recovery as we head on into the week, but that's the story as we're sitting here looking at it. Back to the desk right now with Missy, Indiana.
Thanks so much, John. Well, we want to let everybody know that we have some vaccinations happening here in Pahrump and Nye County. There's several locations where you can get those COVID-19 vaccinations. You can go to nyecounty.net. You can also go to Smith's, and there's also some other vaccinations available at some of our other local pharmacies.
And you mentioned today that over 90 people were vaccinated today.
Yeah, I believe that was yesterday. People over 70 years old, and then today they're continuing once again. We had a post up there, unfortunately. We did lose 4 people since our last post. But if you want to find out more, you can go on smiths.com and find out about vaccinations there at your Smith's, CVS Pharmacy, and Walgreens. And of course, up there in Tonopah, they're doing some vaccinations as well. But nyecounty.net is where you fill out your interest form for those COVID-19 vaccinations.
And as we get more information, we'll put it on our Local Pahrump Facebook page, so be sure and check there as well.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night.